I combine my loves? How can I combine my passion? How can I impact the most people in my life? And then I went to a retreat in August through my church, and there was all these powerful black.
Talk about what
okay, I'm at the King's Church of Christ in Brooklyn, and so the Church of Christ, we had our Texas Women's Leadership Conference, and so I went out to this conference, and there's just these beautiful, powerful, motivational women speakers, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to them, and it's like they talking to my soul, and I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this, right? And it was in the moment where I was just like, this is it, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I left the conference and I started my business. At that point, I had 2 books that were like not really finished, and I was like, I'm gonna finish my books, I'm gonna release both my books, which one is a journal and one is another poetry book talking about like the highs and lows of life. I was like, I'm gonna finish this, I'm gonna launch my business. And it went from a thought to a creation, and yeah, we're not even 2 months out, and the business is going. It's doing well. I've had engagements where I've spoke, and so it's definitely a beautiful thing. And I think that for many of us, we get stuck in the idea and the dream, and we have it, and then we start to doubt ourselves and think that we can't do it. And the biggest thing for me was just to take the leap, to believe that this is who I am, what I'm meant to do, and then just do it. And so I've just been walking and moving in my purpose. Writer. So when I would write my books, that was my catchphrase. So the first book is Interludes, and it kind of talks about growing up in terms of a woman, life, love, sex, getting off track, finding your spirit, coming back to who you truly are. And in that, it was learning that conversation is valuable. And so when I released that book in 2010, that was really what it was about. It was about having conversation circles, about talking about the challenges that women go through, explaining that we should tell our young women these things, right? And not tell them, wait until you get married to have sex, and just leave it at that. And not be honest that, well, some of us were having sex before that, and some of us made some bad decisions, and when you make these bad decisions, sometimes there's some consequences, and these are some of the consequences, right? Like having those real conversations, so then a young woman can make an informed decision. It comes back to that informed decision of like, wow, I have all these powerful women and men around me who are being honest with me about the choices they made. So as I'm making my choices, I have some information. Then you can work towards, okay, how do I heal, right? Because that is a process, and understanding that addiction is not necessarily someone's choice. It's not something that they're choosing not to be around you or not to be a good father. It's something that happened in their life, probably because they didn't deal with the things they needed to deal with to heal, right? And took this negative route. And so the more we can talk about substance abuse and mental illness, bad relationships, all these things that are natural and natural human experiences that we all go through, instead of making these things taboo, by talking to your brother, your sister, your child, you can help them not live those same mistakes and be like their true person and see their greatness. My family is very much in the church, and I'm in the church, and I believe that spirituality matters, but even in that, like, we are all on a journey and no one's perfect. And that's the piece that sometimes, is like holier than thou, and that's not even honest, right? And everyone who's really in the church and who really studies that knows that we are all on this journey, and that sometimes we fall. But the strength is in being able to get back up and keep walking towards that purpose and that divineness, right? And so the more we can have conversations about those times when we fell, right, it humanizes us, and we all start to realize, like, oh, we all fall, but the goal is not to stay there, right, and to keep getting up and to keep moving forward. So that was really how Let's Converse came about. I just realized that there's such a power in honesty and telling your story and being truthful and having conversation, right? And not hiding these things or making these things be taboo or making people feel like I have to suffer in silence. Like, this is just my story. No one else can experience this. And it's like, no, we all go through, it might not be the exact same thing that you did, but we all go through things, and it helps us to connect. So I grew up in a house of women. So I had my great-grandmother, my grandmother, my mom, my sisters. So it was a bunch of us in this household. But my great-grandmother was the daughter of sharecroppers. And so she grew up down south and moved up north to get a better education and life for her family. So her education stopped actually at 4th grade, for her to be able to like take care of the family, right? So for all of us, it was like go to church, get an education. You know, she's cleaning floors for us to do these great things, and I was able to see that. Like I always remember like looking at her hands and like them being like hard because she actually like picked cotton and learning like cotton ain't soft, right? And like you know, like I was like, oh, you know, we get these little cotton balls, and it's like no, cotton is not. This is not a fun thing that happened in your culture and your history, and just from being able to have conversations with her as a young woman, seeing an elder in my life, that really inspired me, and she always pushed me to do greatness. And so from a young age, I think that having that in my life was really powerful for me. It was always pushed. And then, you know, you go through teenager life and people and peer pressure and all kinds of influences, and it kind of goes a different route. So it moved to lust, it moved to sex, it moved to consequences in the aftermath. And then for me growing up, it was really going back to my foundation of my spirituality and my spirit. And so it talks through that in poetic lens. And so you get a good feel of all of those areas of my life. And the areas of life that I think are true for everyone. Can I Get High is my newly released book, and that one talks about artistry, right? So it talks about the art of being black. What does that mean? It talks about like my natural hair, what's happening right now, and politics. And it's interesting because some of these poems are as old as when I was in college, and so the fact that some of those same struggles are still happening and manifesting in different ways. It talks about the art of God, the art of life, the deaths and challenges and new birth, right? And so that is Can I Get High? And the reason I wrote Can I Get High is because I felt like all of us can get high over circumstance. And so looking at both the good and the bad parts of life and thinking about how we can overcome those challenges. They say joy comes in the morning. That smile that sets things right, that makes grown men cry, and happiness that makes strong women sigh in relief. They say joy comes in the morning. That laugh that erases fright, that heals the toughest hearts, that heals the broken parts. They say joy comes in the morning. That innocence that shines so bright, that removes shame and guilt, that removes the walls that were built. But no one talks about the night, when grown men try not to break, when strong women fight for fighting's sake, when hearts grow tough, when that which was whole breaks as if it were fake. You cannot tell if any of it's real in the darkness. You feel death's breath as shame and guilt manifest only if you had been different, done differently, chose differently. But you didn't. You built up walls to protect, but they led to neglect. It's dark. You cannot tell if any of it is real in the darkness. You feel death's breath. No one talks about the night, but it doesn't matter in the light. See, joy came in the morning. Her smile set things right. Her laugh erased the fright. Her innocence shined bright. See, joy came in the morning so that we could all let go of fright. See that God has control and to trust that God knows. See, joy came in the morning. Her life, a semblance of God, shone bright. The path of goodness honed so God would get all the glory owed, and the night would have no power. They say joy comes in the morning, and she did.
Oh, wonderful. That is beautiful to write a piece.
So it's really whatever is on my heart in that moment. So it could be I'm going through a great time, I'm going through a rough time. It could be something I saw on a train. It could be something someone said to me or something that I experienced, right? So it's really from just this true, authentic place of me seeing and experiencing life, right? And then putting that on paper. And then putting the experience down and then opening it up to other people and saying, okay, so joy, right? Is there a time when like you didn't have joy? Like in those dark moments, those times when you were crying, like what was happening? Like because we all have those moments. We on Facebook, on Instagram, we show the joy, right? We're like, hey, I'm great. Look at me, right? But you know, when the cameras are not on and when people are not looking, we're going through things. Those challenges are happening. And if you don't have your support system and your network and your people and you're not speaking, right, that can become overwhelming. And so really it's my words, it's my heart, it's my spirit, but it's really meant to just encourage other people to talk. So anytime that we do like the the book releases and I have the poetry readings, it's not just for me to read my poems to you, right? Because I could do that, but it's also then I'm gonna bounce it back, right? And I'm gonna say, so what's something that makes you happy? So tell me, what's something that makes you happy?
Life.
Okay, what about life? You know, you're in New York, you came up from North Carolina, what's going on? What's making you happy?
Make me happy to see everybody smile. I love to see joy on everybody's faces.
Okay, awesome.
That's one of my biggest things. I love to see people smiling.
Okay, and what are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about a lot. I could say, me now, I'm just beginning to be a father.
Okay.
So, I got a lot of responsibilities to take care of now. So, as of right now, my son is my biggest passion. So, everything that I got is going to him at the end of the day.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
And how old is your son?
Like 2 days old.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Because being a black woman, like, it's part of my culture, it's part of my history, and especially in a climate that we are in now, it's almost like you can't have pride in yourself, right? And that, that's questionable, where everyone has pride in themselves. But, for when we stand up and we're saying, like, our lives matter, black lives matter, black women matter, black men matter, black families matter, right? When we say these things, it's almost like, oh, that means other people don't matter. No, it just means that we recognize our beauty and our worth, right? And so the Art of Black was born out of that one. So here's the Art of Black for you guys. We are a nation of people who bend like trees planted by the water, taking the sting of the tempest with strength and pride, nourished by the storm, flexibility our form, trying not to sacrifice self in this battle to stay grounded, our roots sanctified by the blood spilled, by those who do not understand, that the souls of our dead rise, ever echoing presence. They are felt in our movements, their breath is our song, our pens relive their legacy, our brushes give life long after the physical is gone. We are a nation of people who bend like trees planted by the water, making our presence known, grand, majestic, yet humble, alive, life support, life. Though others try to take ours, tethered our roots to bind the mind and suffocate us until they thought our spirit had died. Through the muck and mire, we may get distracted and confused, but love is our truth, and still we rise. For we are grand, majestic, yet humble, alive, life support, life. We are a nation of people who bend like trees planted by the water. Our cool shade protects our own, yet the air we create touches the world. Our roots hold fast despite erosion. Our leaves continue to enrich the soil. Noosed, strange fruit you see, defying bounds. Our fruits bear seeds of majesty. We are a nation of people who bend like trees planted by the water. It takes a certain form of artistry to be black, non-existent but present, defined by our color yet colorless. We absorb light, which means we are full of light. Though many cannot see this, though the same way they cannot see God, perfectly created in his image, it takes a certain form of artistry to be black. To defy the negative images, the propaganda created to destroy a nation, to stand tall amidst modern-day segregation, laws that perpetrate that we are inferior, flawed standards to have us question our beauty, death in the streets, laughter when we speak up, because it makes people uncomfortable when we move in our power. It takes a certain form of artistry to be black. We are a nation of people who bend like trees planted by the water. We are a nation of people who bend like trees planted by the water. We are a nation of people who bend like trees planted by the water. It takes a certain form of artistry to be black, grand, majestic, yet humble, alive, life support, life.
That's wonderful.
But then I also just released a self-help kind of journal. And so in that, it's called 365 Days of Me. And so at the beginning of each day. There's a quote from me. These are all quotes from my Instagram, things that I've been saying over the years, just in terms of me already motivating before I started a business, right? So I was already doing these things, and it was just trying to identify how does it come together, you know? And so sometimes you just need to listen, because a lot of times we're doing things and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's right in front of your face. Like, you just have to take time to be still. And so 365 days of me, because writing was so healing for me, and I see it as a great outlet, it's a way for other people to write their stories down. So it's a journal. It lasts for a whole year, 365 days, and hopefully the motivational quotes at the top inspire people to think about different things in their lives as they're writing and they're journaling. So the main thing that I tell young people is, one, your childhood is the shortest time of your life, right? You have so long to be an adult, and a lot of young people are like, I just can't wait till I'm 18. I want to be 21. And I'm just like, wait, don't rush it, because enjoy being a child, enjoy your freedom, enjoy having people take care of you. Like, those things are first and foremost. You be a sponge, learn from the people around you, but don't rush to be in an age that you don't need to be. Sometimes you're forced to do that and you have to kind of mature. That's a different situation. But in those times when you don't have to do that, take your time, enjoy it, have fun, be a young person, right? It's a short period of your time, and it's probably going to be like, you can't get that back. So stay there, right? Once you become an adult and you have responsibilities, it's a whole different world, a whole different ballgame. Second, as soon as you can kind of figure out who you are, that's the best thing. And then just be true to that. Don't feel like you have to fit in and be anybody else. Anyone who was ever great and successful, I can tell you, is because they did something totally different, right? So if people try to keep telling you that not be different and to fit into a box, it doesn't work. Just be who you are, no matter what. You know, be true to yourself, and that will get you the furthest that you can go in life. Do the things you love. If you love writing, write. If you love singing, sing. Don't be discouraged. Sometimes in the process, we think we're supposed to be at the end, right? So I think I'm supposed to be the next Puffy. I should be Puffy right now. Like, I should be making $10 million right now. Like, you know, that's what I should be doing right now, right? But it's a process. Everyone's process is different, and it takes time. And so just pray, stay grounded, and work, right? Don't just say pray and just sit here and don't do nothing, right? That's not gonna happen. But like, just do the work and stay grounded in the fact that if you do the work, that you will see the fruits of your labor. And so that's what I would say to young people is, like, don't be discouraged. Dream big, dream greater. Like, whatever it is that you believe is what you become, right? And so if you believe that you're a failure, we tend to work that way, right? You start to do things to make yourself show that, look, see, I'm a failure. So if you believe I'm great, I'm extraordinary, I got that next thing. They're not even ready for it yet, right? And if that's how you think, the way you move is going to be different. The way you present yourself is going to be different. When people see you, they're like, I don't like him. I don't know what it is, right? And so just that alone will help you to start to move in your purpose and in your vision. And so it's really about that confidence, knowing who you are, resting with that, and being okay at each stage of your life. So in terms of leaving a lasting message, it really is, when we talk about this thing of greatness, you just have to see yourself as that. Plain and simple, no matter where you are. Whatever you see becomes how you move, and how you move becomes what you do, and what you do becomes what you believe, right? And so it all is a combination. So if you just rest in the idea, regardless of if it's manifesting or not, that I am great, I am extraordinary, I am perfectly created the way I am, I have gifts, I have talents for this world needs me. If you rest in that and you move in that, you see that, you start to believe that, it will come into fruition. Like, everything that you're doing will have this positive reciprocal effect. And so I just encourage everyone to be bold, be brave, and be extraordinary.
Great. Thank you so much. You've been listening to The Brand, The Boss in the Business.